Hello, my name is Adolfo, and this is Life of Adolfo. Today I'm going to cover a story that I saw on TikTok 2 to 3 weeks ago. I've been following this TikToker for quite some time. She started making videos, from what I recall, her flipping Starbucks mugs and tumblers. And the reason I started following her is because I used to sell on eBay. I used to be a flipper. Somebody that buys items and sells them on the eBay market for more profit. For her, she lives in Mexico. She used to buy Starbucks mugs and tumblers and flip them. Most of the time, she said that she flips them to people in the United States, people that are collecting these Starbucks mugs and tumblers. And of course, other things that you watch on her TikToks is she talks about different things about her life. She got deported. And the reason I want to cover that she got deported is because if I tell you the story and you try to go find dirt, you're going to say, wow, she got deported because she did something wrong illegally. And then you're going to try to bash her on that. But this is just for me to cover things so people that are going to try to use that against her, I'm just going to say it up front. She is from Mexico and she grew up in the States. She got deported to Mexico. And the reason I want to cover this is because it's like she said, the worst enemy for a Mexican is another Mexican. Now, what does she mean with that? Is that your own race will put you down. So I'm going to tell you the story. She got deported and she had to start her life over. She bought her house. I believe she bought it. I'm not sure if she is still on payments or whatever, but she has a house in this HOA community. According to her, she saw people doing things to her houses and she decided to do things to her house. She started building an extra floor. I'm not sure if it's 1 floor or 2 floors. And once it was completed, the HOA told her she cannot have it. As for me, I'm a big HOA fan. I used to own a house under HOA and I love the regulations because it maintains your neighborhood to a certain standard. Now, for her, they told her that she has to take down the floors and so on. And she don't agree. Why? Because she's seen other people not get fined and not get slapped on things that they need to do. With that being said, I'm going to show you the video and you can see the racist, or what I consider racist, remarks that she gets because they assume that she is an American or a pocho. Now, for people that don't know what a pocho is, it's a slang word for people, for someone like me. I'm an American with parents that are Mexican. That doesn't mean that I don't speak Spanish. It just means that I'm from the US and my parents are from Mexico. So I'm going to show you these videos and then I'm going to show you other videos of her talking about these incidents.
Deportaron.
¿Sí?
¿Sí o no?
¿Y acaso lo escondo? No.
Ay, Sorcilla, sé que eres muy libre, mira todo lo que estás haciendo, pero en su momento vas a tener consecuencias legales.
Bueno.
No soy nada, que tú eres una puta fraudeadora. Ya los gringos y te deportaron.
Háblame en español porque estamos en México.
Cuando quedamos en arreglo, y el próximo día que yo te dije todo lo que quedamos, me mandaste a la policía del ayuntamiento, tú es la que no tienes palabra. Y aún así vienes a exigirme la mía. Get the fuck out of my
Cuando
house.
hablamos de frente, tú no
Estás
estás en tu país. No estás en tu país. Y vienes aquí a querer hacer lo que tú quieres. Tú vas a ver que eso no se puede.
El país es mío también.
No me...
And as you can see in the video, they tell her that she got deported because gringo is basically an American. They didn't want her here. And the reason, in addition, that I want to make this video is because one of my friends, when I was a kid, he went to Mexico and he fled his house. This is when he was underage. He fled his house. I don't know how he got to my house because he was like in central Mexico. But back then, for people that don't know, to cross the border to the US, all you need is an identification card, or you could, if you could get away with it, all you have to say is you're an American citizen and the border patrol will let you pass. It's not like now that you have to have a passport or that passport card and that's the way you cross. He got to my house, we started talking. This is when he was a minor. So my dad, of course, he's a minor. He contacted his dad and I believe he contacted his sister, or the dad contacted his sister because he was missing and they had to pick him up. His sister was in the US and that's who picked him up. But he did say to me that he used to get in a lot of fights in Mexico. And the reason he used to get in a lot of fights in Mexico is because he's a pocho, a Chicano, someone that is an American, but with Mexican parents, and now he's living in Mexico. I think he was an American. Maybe he was a Mexican that went to the US and then now he went back to Mexico. But since he's able to cross, but like I said, before they didn't do all this process in the border check, that he was able to cross. And sometimes you do encounter these things that you think that your own race is against you just because you're in the US. I know that in the US it's also the same thing because my dad was a farm worker, and I recall, because I used to live around all these farms, I recall people calling the Border Patrol so they could eliminate or deport the people that are from Mexico. I'm not sure if these Mexican Americans thought that they were going to get more money since they're getting deported. Maybe they are the ones that snitch. And for me, it's not right, because if I see somebody from Mexico, I remember seeing this guy buying a CD. In my mind, I was thinking he should just buy a computer and download it under LimeWire and have the whole CD for free. Of course, the computer costs more. Now you could do everything with a cell phone device. Just download YouTube's to MP3 and you get a whole CD. And the reason I'm saying that is because I was thinking of him how to save money, because he was a farm worker just trying to buy a CD. And for me, I just wanted him to save that money for something else. Now, for other races that might think, oh, my race doesn't do this, I did see the P. Diddy case that some people are saying, why are you putting our culture down? And I've seen it with other races as well. As a matter of fact, when I went to go sell my storage room, I had to get rid of my storage room last month. And there was two people that came to buy stuff. There was a gentleman and a female. The gentleman, I thought he was Mexican. I started talking to him and everything, and he told me, oh, I'm Filipino. I said, oh, cool. I'm just trying to get rid of stuff. So we started talking, and I told him I just want to start a new chapter. This is all from my divorce time from my ex, and I just want to get rid of it. And we started talking about ex and how everything went downhill and so on. And he said, I remember that my girlfriend, his wife, that was Filipina, he said, my Filipina ex told me that I was going to get a FODB. And I didn't know what a FODB was. And he told me it's fresh off the boat. I'm like, what? Because I didn't expect an American Filipina putting down a Filipina that was just coming. And so it's not only the Mexican culture, it's not only the black culture, it's everybody. But we don't see it because our agenda is our own culture, our own people, our own race. And we don't see other cultures putting their own self down. It could be if you're light skinned compared to a dark skin. It could be somebody coming from that country and you're already here as a first, second, or third generation, and you're putting them down. And it's also vice versa with Mexico. I've seen it with Mexico quite a few times, and you could see it in the movie Selena when the dad tells her about the culture, how the people from Mexico is not going to accept her.
This entire experience with my HOA in Mexico has definitely been a hard lesson learned about living in Mexico. And to a lot of people like this, especially locals or people that refer to us as pochos, gringos, whatever, my neighbors were the first to reiterate that ni eres de aquí, you come and do here whatever you want, este no es tu país. Number one, this is a great example of the discrimination that we face and how we are targeted by our own, especially when we move into communities that are not touristy, communities. I'm gonna offend some of you guys, and that's okay. Mexicans love gringos and foreigners in tourist areas, but they do not love outsiders in the suburbs or local areas, and we are definitely referred to as outsiders.
You can see on the video that she talks about pollo, and you can see another part of the video where they're telling her to go back, or they didn't accept her like I mentioned, but she's from Mexico. And just because she speaks English, they already target her as someone that is Mexican American, Pocho, Chicano, or whatever word you want to put on her, as someone that doesn't belong in there. And like I said, the HOA factor, for me, I'm a HOA fan. She probably didn't understand about the HOA, but she should not be getting all this hatred because she's someone that speaks English or she's targeted as a Mexican American. And I think this thing has to stop because, number one, my dad is Mexican. If I don't see people trying to hate on him, even when he goes to Mexico, that he crossed the border, they might hate on me because I'm not a Mexican actually. I'm a Mexican American. And even with the boxers, you can even watch it with boxing and so on. Of course, Mexican fans are going to root for the Mexican boxer and not the Mexican American. They're going to root for Chavez and not De La Hoya. They're going to probably root for Canelo and not a Mexican American. We'll say David Benavidez, since he's half and half, they're not going to root for the Benavidez and so on. For me, I think there should not be no hatred. Just because my dad crossed and I'm over here, it doesn't mean that you should hate on me as a nationality. At the same time, it's also vice versa. A Mexican American should not hate where he came from, or if you're from another culture, you should not hate on your culture that is coming to the United States. You did the same thing, or your parents did the same thing. That's all I got. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you.